Welcome to the show. This is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me, I have a special guest that I will be having a wonderful conversation with. First, I just want to mention if you watch this interview anywhere else besides in the community, become an author and write your first book. We would like to invite you to connect with like minded people there if you would like to become an author and write your first book. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to our viewers and listeners and to introduce herself.
Dear listeners, my name is Afetia Mildred, Ugandan born, living in United Kingdom currently. I am a social worker by profession. I work with Alpha Resource Consulting Limited and Elite as a support worker. And I'm also the program lead, R&M Development Company, based in Uganda, but the headquarters in the UK. Thank
Wow,
you.
very nice, Mildred. Thank you so much for making time for the interview. And so, how's the situation in the UK? Maybe we can start there.
Yeah, apparently the situation is calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are back into their normal activities since they've had vaccines.
Yeah,
Yeah, business is back normally.
that is good indeed. We are also back to normal here in the Netherlands, the mainland Europe, because the UK is now a separate part of Europe. That's a topic for another day. But again, thank you for making time for the interview. I just wanted to know if somebody is watching this interview, you have published a book and you have told us that you are a social worker. Can you tell us about the book that you have published?
Yes, my book published is titled "The Tallies of the Journey of My Life."
Yes.
Yeah, this is a book that I wrote as a fulfillment of acquisition of executive master's program in leadership,
Yeah.
impact, and business attained from Mogi Global Leadership School. That was 2019.
Wow. The tallies of the journey of my life.
Yes.
And before we get into this one, I feel there's something interesting here. So you are a social worker. What inspired you to get into social work?
Well, what inspired me to become a social worker is the passion that I have into helping the marginalized communities, working with the communities, people with needs, our virtues as social workers. Actually, to become a social worker,
Yes.
I got motivated by seeing a role model in our family
Yeah.
who is now a late. That is an elder brother to my late father as well,
Yeah.
a late uncle who was an engineer. When I was growing up, deep down in my village in Arua, in the northern part of Uganda,
Yeah.
I grew up like getting to know this uncle who was close. Little did I know that he was an engineer. I thought he was an administrator because he was basically organized person and he would do his civil engineering thing. He did his work globally. He
Yeah.
would work with the whites, with the blacks from Congo, wherever. And he had an office back home in the village where whenever he comes back from work from the town, he was the district planner by then. In 1970s, he had an office at home. So he would come back home, sit in his office as he relaxes, takes his cup of tea. And I looked at him as an organized person. Little did I know that he was an engineer.
Yeah.
And I looked at him as the role model. So when I was growing up, coming up with this career of social work,
Yeah.
I would tell myself, I want to be like him, an
Yeah.
administrator.
Yeah.
as time went on and when I grew up, I got to know that he was actually a different person with different skills.
Yeah,
And he was in the Department of Engineering.
yeah,
Just as an elder person in the family, he had motivated so many people to do civil engineering in the
yeah.
family. And because of that, my father also tried to push me hard into doing architecture. Is it architecture?
Architecture, yeah.
Yes.
Aha, engineering as well, yeah.
Yeah. And I objected that. I told
Ah,
myself, no, I want to be an administrator, and I had passion for that until when I acquired my qualifications to do social work and social administration from
yeah.
Accra University, made me attain the course that I wanted to do,
Wow.
helping the people in the community. That was my passion.
Fascinating. So the uncle that inspired you to stay focused and get on this journey, you thought he was an administrator, but actually he was an engineer.
Yeah.
And when your father realized that you like what your uncle is doing, your father wanted you to also be an engineer, but
Yes.
that's not what you wanted.
No. No.
Wow, this is an interesting story indeed. So the tallies of the journey of my life. Uh, when did you start writing this book?
I started writing this book way back in 2019
Yeah,
uh, when I enrolled for this course, the Leadership, Impact, and Business.
yeah,
A friend had introduced me to this course, which was overwhelming and it was action-oriented.
yeah,
So as one of the requirements for achieving the qualification, the provost of the school
yeah.
told us we need to write a book, write something about yourself. And this is where my writing skill started unveiling itself.
Yeah,
Writing the book, The Tallies, for the journey of my life was so inspirational in my life.
yeah,
And of which later I realized and I talked to myself and I'm like, how I wish I wrote this book early enough,
uh-huh,
because this was an interesting story because you depict the past,
yeah,
what you've been through the past
yeah,
and how you're progressing now and how are you picturing the future.
indeed.
So this book really unveiled a lot of things that I got to know about my strengths, weaknesses, challenges that I went through that anybody out there would go through, and then to equip you with solutions, steps, what uh, what solution would one have, like in order to get rid of the problems or obstacles,
Yeah,
impediments that comes on their way.
wow.
Yes, so
And
this
and so you started writing in 2019. Do you have any other experience with writing before this experience of 2019 with this program?
not really. Yeah. This
Aha.
is my first book to be written. Though
Okay.
I've been writing a lot of essays and so on, but that was a bit academically.
Yeah.
This is something else that I needed to improve on. And actually, another thing that triggered me to write this book is that when I was being assessed by some people here from the England, I
Yeah.
was in the hospital, and then they told me to write some story. They brought a picture of something. It was
Mm-hmm.
just literally a picture, and they told me to interpret it. And then I threw back to them. I'm like, yeah, uh, my literature teacher from my former secondary school used to tell me, when you read pictures, this is what you do and this is what you write. And I composed an essay and a story out of that picture. And these people were so happy, and they're like, you know what? You can write something.
So you studied literature.
Yes.
Aha, there it is. Because wow. So they said you can write something and then,
Yeah, I can build on what I've written and to make it better.
yeah,
So giving me that warmth and pushing the fire
yeah,
to write, it motivated me to write more
yeah.
and to get equipped with the writing of this book. And
Wow.
also the fact that the provost of Mogi Global Leadership School had written so many books, and he
Yeah,
had given us a sample of what he had written.
yeah,
We depict the structure of writing from his book.
yeah.
It guided us, and it made my work easy.
Amazing. Amazing indeed. And so you mentioned you are from Uganda. I can relate to that because I'm also from Uganda. And being in England, I remember you were also living here in the Netherlands at one point.
Yes.
And how has your experience been as far as being a Ugandan and living outside of Uganda?
Very, very nice question.
Yeah,
Yeah, my experience of a Ugandan living abroad,
yeah,
yeah, has actually made me to understand more the cultural differences,
yeah,
and I've been able to integrate well in these two countries, both in Netherlands and here.
yeah,
In the Netherlands, to give you an overview, I was doing my master's in development studies, majoring in human rights,
yeah.
uh, gender and social justice perspective. So whilst when I was there in Netherlands, I suited to the environment, and I got to know that actually things done there are quite different from my home country.
Yeah,
First of all, the time management was one of the things that I learned.
yeah,
The same as here, everything is, it's changed.
yeah.
It's not the same as in my country where you take your own pace and you do things at your own pace. But here, while living in UK and Netherlands, I got to know that time is one of the important factor in
Indeed,
life.
most definitely.
Yeah, so it enabled me to elevate,
Yeah,
and yeah, to also to be able to suit in this environment.
indeed, most definitely, because time, I think, is very essential. If we don't manage the time that we are given, then a lot of things could go wrong.
Yes.
Most especially when we are working with other people and having appointments. I can relate to what you're talking about there. So thank you so much. And so
Thank you.
when you look back on your journey,
Yes.
you mentioned that you studied literature. You mentioned
Yes.
the inspiration that you had from your uncle, and
Yes.
uh, and the opportunities that you've had to study here in the Netherlands, in Uganda, and now in the UK, and you're working in the UK. When you look at your journey, what would you say is the one thing that has happened to you personally that has had the greatest impact on you?
Yes. When I look at my journey of life,
Yes.
yeah, one thing that has really impacted and has changed me is that uh, is that many times uh, I take myself as an example. We come from different backgrounds,
Yeah.
different society with different cultures, norms, and beliefs.
Yeah.
Uh, Actually, let me take you back. I come from, just as I said, I come from the northern part of Uganda, and I grew up in the rural community in the northern part of Uganda. That's where I studied my O level and advanced level, though my childhood studied from nursery to primary. I studied in Kampala.
Yeah.
However, looking at the journey of my life, how this has really impacted my life positively is that the ability to get connected internationally is one thing that changed my life.
Yeah.
As it was a big step
Yeah.
coming from a rural community with a lot of, where we come from, the northern region, that was a part that was attacked by war, the
Yeah.
LRI war.
Yeah.
And I was the victim of that
Yeah.
in one
Oh.
way or the other. Yeah, because I remember when I was joining my secondary school, the roads were closed because the rebels were all over the roads in Karuma.
Yeah.
They were burning buses. There was no way to come to a village.
Yeah.
And I remember it was really a very horrific experience in that time, I would say that my father couldn't afford the school fees of Kampala. So he thought it was wise for me to go and start studies in the rural community,
Yeah.
then later come back to the city.
Yeah.
But this was hindered by what? By the LRA
Yeah.
rebels. But however, it didn't hinder completely. I made my journey through because I had to use the canoe to cross over to West Nile to get to school. By
Oh.
then, my auntie was the headmistress of Munigal Secondary School uh, before she was transferred from Narisunsa Girls
Yeah.
to Arua Munigal Secondary School. So my father thought it was wise to follow her, to follow her since she was
Yeah.
the administrator of that school. So I went there and I studied, though it was not an easy journey, though.
Yeah.
There were so many havocs and so on, because I was mostly used to my friends who are in Kampala, and I saw myself going back to study in the village. So
Yeah.
it was not easy coping up, getting
Indeed.
to to my area, getting to know the language. That's where I picked up and I settled though. It was not easy. And also after computation of my study, it was not really easy because we were many in the family and my father had a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
I had challenges of tuition and so on, but he managed
Yeah.
to do what? To pay for me.
Yeah.
However, there were certain obstacles still that would really hinder my studies, especially sickness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on and off, especially when I finished my senior six. That's
Yeah.
where problems started. But I didn't give up.
Yeah.
Uh, no matter I was out of school because of this, but I ensured that I carried on.
That you.
And I
Wow.
remember this also affected me in Netherlands when I was finalizing my studies.
Wow.
I had a breakdown and I was admitted at the hospital in Panazia. I thought maybe that would have been the end of my life.
Oh
But
my goodness.
when God has meant something for you, He will always make you accomplish
Yeah.
your journey. And the whole picture of this gave me something to put in the book,
Wow.
to write a story about myself because I've come from far.
Indeed. This is very powerful indeed. When you, the way you're sharing it, that the, I mean, I was in Uganda for, I was born and raised in Uganda, and I was in Kampala. I heard about the LRA, but and Joseph Kony and what happened in the northern part of Uganda, but you being right there in the middle of it, and then just having to deal with school and everything else and life going on,
Mhm.
and you are here. That's very, it's a very powerful testimony that you're sharing there, Mildred. And I'm just thinking there's a question here that I feel I just should ask, because you share that it was not easy,
Mhm.
that it was a tough time.
Mhm.
Sometimes I speak to people, and they feel like what they're going through is a tough time because maybe um, I could say maybe uh, they don't have lunch, for example, and they feel like they're having a tough time. What can you share with someone like this who is watching us and they feel like life is unfair and they're going through a tough time because of the things that have happened?
Yeah, my best advice based on my life experience,
Yes.
someone who has been facing challenges like me, not necessarily school fees problem,
Yeah.
maybe others that I
Yeah.
cannot mention, but they know,
Yeah.
is that always keep on,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
There are some individuals, when they see that there's a lot of challenges in their lives, they tend to cut off whatever they are doing.
Yeah.
They don't progress with their career or their goals, whatever they want to achieve in life, it just discards.
Yeah.
But however, I will tell them is that try to keep positive.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said in my book.
Yeah.
Positive mind
Yeah.
brings results. If you have a positive mind,
Yeah.
you'll be able to open up and do so many good things in life.
Yeah.
A mind that is negative,
Yeah.
if you think negative on something and you said this will not work, this is too much for me, this is too much for me to bear, I'm telling you that will be the end. But
Yeah.
when you carry on and you have the zeal, you say positive on the track,
Yeah.
you will accomplish what you're going to do.
And
The
then,
book, The Tallies of the Journey of My Life, actually exposed me to think big.
yeah.
And when articulating my story, I made some solutions and resolution what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, if this is A, this is the problem, then where is the solution? What can I do and what resolution can I have?
Mm-hmm.
So if I finish one step, so where am I going next? So that is it. If I have a barrier here, how will I overcome this? So
Yeah.
always find solution to whatever challenges someone is going through or you are going through.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Every problem has a solution.
Solution, yes.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. This is very powerful indeed. And from what I hear, so you have two master's degrees.
Yes, the other one was executive masters
Yeah.
in leadership, impact, and business.
Yeah.
Yes, and the one from Netherlands was in development studies,
Yeah.
measuring human rights, gender, and social justice perspectives.
Amazing. You are very determined.
Thank you.
And I think this is one of those things that is very important for us if we are going to be successful in life, that we be determined. We decide to do something and go and do it. Um, what can you share with someone who feels like maybe they're struggling in this area, that they want to do something, but sometimes they feel like they lack the determination to do it?
With this kind of people, I think the best thing is to first of all look at someone
Yeah.
who can inspire them.
Yeah.
Say role models,
Yeah.
coaches,
Yeah.
inspirators, because a weak person cannot be led by a weak person.
Very well said.
Definitely, it's better to look at someone who has been through that
Yeah.
or someone who is much more better in some area
Yeah.
so that they can get hold of
Indeed.
whatever they're going through than, yeah.
Indeed. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I think it's very helpful to just have this uh, way of just doing life with other people because it helps to just lessen the burden.
Mm.
Indeed. And what about books, Mildred? Are there some titles of books that have been very inspiring for you on your journey to getting to where you are? that you have read and you are like, this book was really good and it taught me something that is very valuable? Can you share some of that?
Yeah, I often read about the rich dad and the poor dad.
Aha, that's a great one.
Yeah, and also there are former books, though they are not, okay, they are former books, though my O-level literature books
Yeah,
and A-level literature books,
yeah,
just like the Arith Odomo, Pride and Prejudice.
aha.
Yeah, those are the few books that I picked some themes and messages that I added to my story.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much. And what about role models? You mentioned role models and people who inspire. Can you
Yes,
share with us some of the people that have inspired you? You mentioned your uncle
yes,
earlier,
yes.
that he was very big influence in your life as far as your education is concerned. Are there some other role models that you look to and you say, this person inspires me, even if it's from a distance? They just inspire me with the way they do what they do.
Yes, I've got role models and inspirators. One of my role model is, I said, is the provost of the school. That is Mr. Mike Oladipo.
Yeah,
He's the founder of the Mogi Global Leadership School.
yeah,
He's been one of my role models because whatever he does, he inspires us to be action oriented, inspires us to write books, inspires us to come up with the activities that impact lives in the communities. He's one of my role models because he's a teacher
yeah,
that I learned from. Another role model that I look into is Mr. Engineer Joel Aita.
yeah.
Engineer Joel Aita is the founder of Jawada company. It's an engineering company.
Aha,
I studied with a wife
yeah,
way back in 2016.
yeah,
And then also with a sister, I studied in Munigao Secondary School. And eventually we found that we were in-laws, relatives and
wow.
in-laws. So small world, small
Indeed,
world.
indeed.
Aita runs that company in Kampala, and he has built so many structures, including Mulago,
Yeah,
is it neuropaternal, kind of like that,
yeah,
maternity ward, kind of.
yeah,
Uh, when Engineer Ita started Jawada, that
yeah,
is his company,
yeah,
uh, I met him with his sister-in-law. By then we were studying at Macquarie University in 2019.
yeah,
Yeah, one thing he inspired me was that he said, what you learn in class is enough for you to do something.
wow.
Whatever skills you gain from class is enough for you to do something. When Jawada started in 2019, little as it was, he told us, you people put your Macquarie University degree into use.
Yeah,
Don't just sit there and wait.
yeah,
And if you're working for the government, look at something extra as well.
yeah,
Wherever you're working, whether private or government, try to be creative and do something for yourself. And for him, he worked for 2 years in the government, and then
yeah.
later on he resigned, he started his own company, and his company has gone global.
Wow.
So through that, I shared with him an idea about my company. And I told him, you know what, I want to initiate a company. And this
Yeah,
company, first of all, will impact lives of the communities positively as its goal is to elevate and impact people socially, economically.
yeah,
So since my late father, before he died, was a senior plumber, and this is all in the section of engineering
engineering.
and
Yeah,
so on. So for his retirement package, I discussed with Joel, engineer Joel, that, you know what, I need to come up with a company because I'm seeing something unique in my father. He literally, he has this the training skills.
Yeah.
He has touched many lives of people. He has trained them, and people are working in different organizations in Sudan, wherever
Yeah.
they are. So why don't we open up a vocational training school for plumbing, Narua? It is not there. There are so many O-level dropouts, A-level dropouts who cannot progress.
Yeah.
Why don't we get such kind of people and we
Train
train
them.
them?
Yeah.
Yes. And then that caused me to come up with this company, R&M Development Company. And
Yeah.
under this company, I looked at vocational training that is under plumbing and also entrepreneurship and agribusiness.
Yeah.
And to go further, I told him, you know what, my dissertation in the Netherlands was about pregnancy, early pregnancy and dropout,
Yeah.
promoting education uh, among student mothers who are
Yeah.
dropouts. So I told him, you know what, it will be wise to also to create a malt company that is dynamic,
Yeah.
or if necessary, we can come up with an umbrella organization under the same company and do something to do with early pregnancy and so on. So that made me come up with the international interactive solution for adolescent mothers, basically
Wow.
targeting the rural girls in our home, in the villages who are dropouts, how we engage and impact lives positively in their lives by educating them,
Yeah.
sensitizing them about school pregnancy when they get out of school and how they can get back on board to acquire the education.
Wow.
So Joel has been one of my inspirators, and hand in hand, he's been pulling me up
Yeah.
to work along with these goals. And I was able to register this company. Though because of
Amazing.
COVID, there's been a lot of hindrance in that I could not travel back home.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, so, but eventually, when things come back to normality in Uganda,
Yeah.
and since we are getting there,
Yeah.
we shall cope up with whatever we are doing.
Amazing. Amazing, Mildred. This is wonderful and it's very inspiring indeed. The work that you're doing with this initiative, I think it's a very practical solution to
Mm.
a real problem right now because many people don't have the opportunities to further their education and yet they would like to do something. And this just falls in right very well with them. Um, is there something that you feel uh, in this season that you are missing that can be helpful in moving this agenda forward, the wonderful work that you're doing?
Is there?
When you feel well, like the way you are looking at this, is there something that you need right now that you need to help you move forward? Maybe if somebody is watching this interview and they hear about the work that you're doing, maybe how can people support you? Maybe that's the question that I should ask.
Oh, okay, yes. Apparently, since this is new, uh, we are trying to organize ourselves and get an office back home.
Yeah,
Currently, we've done the paperwork, but remaining the structure, the organization structure, and the office
yeah,
back home, back in Uganda.
very
If you
nice.
say home, it's Uganda.
Indeed. So the need is for getting office space.
Yeah.
Very nice. That is, I think this is a very worthy uh, initiative, and there's people out there who get inspired by things like this, and they want to know how they can help. But now
Mm.
that you've made it clear that right now where you are is that you need office space, maybe somebody will reach out to you and have a conversation with you about this. This brings me very well into my next question. If somebody is watching this interview and they would like to contact you to continue this conversation, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best ways to reach me through email.
Yes,
That is afemildred
yes.
at gmail.com.
afemildred@gmail.com. We will put the email with the interview so that people can connect with you. Is there another way that people can connect with you besides the email?
Yes, I've got the phone number, and I'm
All right.
also available on Facebook, and I use Afe Mildred.
Very nice.
Afe Mildred, Afe Favor.
Yes. Very nice. We will put those links with the interview. So you mentioned also the phone number. If you can
Yeah,
share that, we will put it in the interview with the interview so that people can connect with you. If I think that would be very nice indeed. This is
yeah,
very inspiring indeed, and congratulations with giving the world the tallies of the journey of my life. I think this belongs out there because it's very inspiring and people need inspiration now more than ever. And how I like to end my interviews is by asking, is there anything else that you would like to share that I have not asked you about in the interview?
Not really much.
Yeah.
I just want to add a little bit about the tallies of the journey of my life.
Yes, please.
Um, I'm looking at this book uh, as an expansion. That is a long-term goal yet.
Yes.
As an expansion to something that I want to deal with in future. Because as I said, I'm a social worker and I'm a
Exactly.
problem solver.
Yeah.
And you know, some of these challenges that we go through sometimes trigger stress
Yeah.
and depression, which I put in this book. And in collaboration with this book, I would like to put up something that's like mm, a rehab
Yeah.
to, to address issues of depression, stress, kind of. And to do that, this book, if I'm to launch it, then I'll bring in some organizations, various organizations, maybe here abroad or Uganda, that will expand some of this idea that I would like to put in place.
Indeed.
This rehab, yeah.
Great idea, Mildred. That is a great idea. Run with it. Make it happen. The need is there for it. The need is there for it because coming out of the situation where we are right now with COVID and everything, many people have many questions. The things that they were banking on, maybe they had some bank loans, whatever it is, things are not looking like they expected. 2 years into COVID, the business does not look like it's supposed to. And all of that has an impact on the person themselves.
Mm.
And if there's not many opportunities for them to get help, then things can be very tough. So thank you so much for doing this, Mildred.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm so glad we made time for this, and I will sure be keeping in touch with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.